So, you're telling me I need to know a percent of a number. Huh. I don't think a monkey...
Yes. I use percents all the time. With Black Friday coming up, and I've got to get some gifts for my mom, a lot of percentages...
Ladies and gents, tonight we are going to be talking about percents, how they relate to fractions, and also decimals. We'll dive into that a little bit. If you would like to take notes on tonight's video, we're looking at page 220 to 223, and we are in chapter 5 still. We skipped chapter 3 and 4. We're going to go back to that later in the year. All right, so let's get started. Our first area is we're going to take a look at how to change a percent to a fraction. So here's my first example. I have 35%. This sign right here means put me over 100, essentially. So what we have is 35 is my part, and then my whole is out of 100. Now, we know with fractions, we can reduce this. 5 goes into both 35 and 100. So I would break that down. 35 divided by 5 is 7. 100 divided by 5 is 20. 7 doesn't go into 20, so this would be the simplified or reduced fraction for 35%. Okay? If I wanted to take this to a decimal, we could just think, how do I say this? I say this as 35 hundredths. This is my hundredths place, so we have 35%, 35 over 100, or 35 hundredths. All of these are the same thing. So percents, decimals, and fractions are all connected. All right. Here's another example. We're going to look at 5%. My part is 5. And whenever you see that percentage sign, it means over 100. There's only one meaning for this percentage sign, and it's put me over 100. Now, I know that 5 can go into both 5 and 100, so I can reduce this. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 100 divided by 5 is 20th. These two are equivalent fractions, so 1/20th is my simplified answer. Lastly, whoa, Mr. Costa, what happens when we have over 100%? If any of you play sports or maybe an instrument or something where a coach or a teacher has said, hey, give me 110%. Well, in reality, it's hard to get over 100%. So it's kind of a false statement almost. But if we do have over 100%, we still stick the number as the numerator, and then the denominator will be 100. And we could reduce this to 1 and 10 100ths, which would also reduce to 1 and 1/10. So that's how we go to a percent from a fraction. Once again, if we wanted to turn 5 100ths into a decimal, we could just write it as 5 hundredths. This is the tenths, this is the hundredths, so that's where we would end that. All right? Okay, so now we're going to go from a fraction to a percent. When going to a percent, we want to think we need our denominator to equal 100. Why? Because we know, like I said earlier, that this sign means put me over at 100. So in my mind, I'm thinking, how do I get from 50 to 100? I would multiply by 2 to get this equivalent fraction. So because I changed the bottom by multiplying by 2, I'm going to do the same thing to the top. 3 times 2 is 6. So 3 over 50 is equivalent to 6 over 100. Well, this is over 100. So my part is 6 over my whole, which once again is the percentage sign for 100. So 3/50ths is equal to 6/10, which equals 6%. Now let's look at this second example of a fraction. We're going to change it to a percent. 12 is not a factor of 100. So I would need to multiply this number by a decimal to get from here to here. But what I can do is I can reduce this fraction, dividing each one by 3, and I'll get 3/4. Now, I can take 4 to 100 by multiplying by 25. All right, I couldn't get from 12 to 100. 12 is not a factor of 100. So what I'm going to do is I broke it down to 3/4. 4 times 25 is 100. And I would multiply 3 times 25. The number that I have over this would then equal 75%. Okay? So once again, just a quick review. If I can't take this denominator to 100 by multiplying by a whole number, I could possibly reduce it and then build it back up, so to speak. All right, so 9/12 is equivalent to 75%. 3/50 is equivalent to 6%. The other Edpuzzle video this week will show you how to take a fraction that you can't break down or that you can't build up to 100, and we'll take a look at how we can get a percent from that. All right, have a great day.